restaurant was warm, softly lit, and filled with the gentle hum of evening conversations. But Daniel felt strangely cold inside as he checked his phone for the fifth time. 7:42 p.m., his blind date was already 12 minutes late. He adjusted the collar of his navy jacket and tried to calm the restless tapping of his fingers against the table. He had almost cancelled tonight, after years of focusing only on work and burying himself in corporate deadlines. This was his first attempt at letting someone into his life. The dating app had described her as kind, resilient, and a mother who believed in second chances. That last line had intrigued him. He admired strength. He admired people who survived storms. But as the minutes stretched into half an hour, hope slowly turned into embarrassment. The waiter gave him a sympathetic look. Around him, couples laughed. Glasses clinked. And life moved on, except at his lonely table for two. At exactly 8:03 p.m., Daniel sighed, reached for his wallet, and decided he had been stood up. That's when the restaurant door burst open. Two little girls, no older than 6, ran inside, their identical ponytails bouncing, their small faces streaked with tears. They scanned the room frantically before locking their eyes on him. For a moment, Daniel froze, confused. Then they rushed toward his table as if they had known him forever. "Señor Daniel," one cried, her tiny hands grabbing his sleeve. "Golpearon a nuestra mamá," the other sobbed, struggling to breathe between words. The world seemed to tilt. Conversations around them faded into silence. Daniel's heart pounded in his ears. "What? Where is she?" he asked, kneeling to their level. Through broken sentences and panicked breaths, the girls explained that their mother had told them she was meeting someone kind tonight, someone named Daniel. She had left them with their grandmother, but on the way to the restaurant, her ex-partner had confronted her in the parking lot. There had been shouting, then violence. The girls had followed secretly, afraid and confused, and had seen everything. Daniel didn't think, he moved, scooping one child into each arm. He ran outside with a force he didn't know he possessed. Near the edge of the dim parking lot, under a flickering street lamp, he saw her. A woman lay against a car door, trying to sit up despite the pain. A man was shouting, but when he saw Daniel approaching with witnesses, he fled. Daniel didn't chase him. He knelt beside her instead. Their eyes met for the first time, not over candlelight and polite smiles, but through tears and fear. She was beautiful, not because of perfect makeup or styled hair, but because even in pain, she whispered, "My daughters. Are they safe?" Daniel assured her they were. He called the police. He called an ambulance. He held her trembling hand while the girls clung to his jacket. In that chaotic moment, something inside him shifted. This was not how blind dates were supposed to begin. But maybe fate had something else in mind. As the ambulance doors closed and he promised the girls, he would follow them to the hospital. Daniel realized this night had changed everything. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with roses and apologies for being late. Sometimes it runs toward you in tears, asking for help. The hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic and uncertainty. Daniel sat with the twins, Sophia and Sarah, learning their names as he handed them juice boxes from a vending machine. They looked so small in those oversized waiting room chairs, their legs swinging nervously. He had planned to spend the evening discussing hobbies and favorite books. Instead, he was comforting two children whose world felt fragile. When the doctor finally approached, Daniel stood instinctively, as if he had always belonged there. "She's stable," the doctor said. Bruised, shaken but strong. Strong, the same word her dating profile had used. Hours later, when Maria was discharged, she looked embarrassed more than injured. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "This is not exactly a great first impression." Daniel surprised both of them by laughing softly. "Actually," he said, "it's the most honest first impression I've ever had." Over the next few weeks, he learned the full story. Maria had left an abusive relationship months ago. She worked 2 jobs. She fought daily battles to protect her daughters. And despite everything, she still believed in love. That belief humbled him. Daniel began helping in small ways, driving them to school, when her car was being repaired, fixing a broken kitchen cabinet, attending a school play when Maria had to work late. The twins started calling him Señor Daniel with affection instead of fear. But love is never simple. The ex-partner attempted intimidation again, this time legally. Court hearings followed. Stress returned. Yet Daniel did not walk away. One evening, as they sat together reviewing legal documents, Maria looked at him and asked the question she had been holding back. "Why are you still here? This is messy. You didn't sign up for this." Daniel took a deep breath. "You're right. I didn't sign up for chaos. I signed up for a date. But I stayed because I saw courage. I saw 2 little girls who deserve safety. And I saw a woman who refuses to give up. Months later, justice was served. The restraining order was granted. Peace, though fragile, began to settle into their lives. One Sunday afternoon, Daniel recreated their first date. Same restaurant, same table. This time Maria arrived on time, holding both girls' hands. The twins giggled as they presented him with a handmade card that read, "Gracias por llegar cuando nadie más lo hizo." Thank you for arriving when no one else did. Daniel realized something powerful that night. Sometimes destiny disguises itself as inconvenience. Sometimes the love you're waiting for doesn't show up the way you expect. It shows up needing protection, patience, and bravery. And when you choose to stay instead of run, you don't just find romance. You find purpose. As the story closes, imagine this. What if Daniel had left 5 minutes earlier? What if he had ignored the crying voices? One decision can change multiple lives. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in second chances, courage, and love that chooses to stay, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Because here, we don't just tell stories. We remind you that even the most unexpected nights can lead to the most beautiful beginnings. Spring arrived quietly, almost shyly, bringing warm sunlight through the kitchen window of Maria's small apartment. The table was covered with crayons, cereal bowls, and Sophia's attempt at drawing a family portrait. Daniel noticed something that made his chest tighten gently. In the picture there were 4 people: Maria, the twins, and him. He didn't say anything at first. He just kept flipping pancakes while pretending not to stare at the drawing. Taped proudly to the fridge. Life had slowly become routine. School drop-offs, homework evenings, grocery shopping debates about which ice cream flavor to buy, and movie nights where the girls insisted on sitting between him and their mother. But routine frightened Daniel more than the chaos once had. Because routine meant attachment, and attachment meant the possibility of loss. He had never been a father. He had never imagined himself becoming one. Yet now, when Sophia scraped her knee, she ran to him. When Sarah had nightmares, she knocked on his door. And when Maria laughed, truly laughed, he felt something heal inside himself too. One afternoon, while helping Sarah with reading homework, she suddenly asked, "Senor Daniel, do dads always help with school?" He paused. The question was innocent, but it hit deeply. "Good dads do," he answered softly. She nodded and continued reading. But Daniel realized something. He was no longer a visitor in their lives. He was becoming part of their foundation. Weeks later, the past tried to return again. The ex-partner, Javier, violated the restraining order by approaching the girls' school. A teacher recognized him and immediately contacted Maria. Panic spread quickly. Maria trembled when she told Daniel. Old fear returned to her eyes. But this time, Daniel did not only comfort her. He took action. He worked with authorities, gathered security footage, and stood beside Maria during the legal hearing. For the first time, Javier faced serious consequences. He was arrested. As they left the courthouse, Maria's hands shook, not from fear anymore, but from relief she had never felt before. Outside, she stopped walking. "You didn't have to carry this with me," she said. Daniel looked at the twins, who were chasing pigeons across the plaza, laughing freely. "I wanted to," he replied, "because you were never meant to fight alone." That night, something changed forever. Maria invited him to stay for dinner, but after the girls slept, silence filled the apartment. No crisis, no emergency, just peace. She sat beside him and whispered, "The girls trust you. And so do I." Daniel hesitated, not from doubt but from the weight of what he was about to say. "Maria, I think I didn't come into your life by accident. I think I was late to my own family." Tears formed in her eyes, not the painful tears from their first meeting, but gentle ones. They held hands, not as strangers, helping each other anymore, but as two people choosing the same future. Months passed. Summer arrived. At a small park picnic, the twins organized a ceremony using flowers and paper rings. "Practice wedding," Sophia declared proudly. Maria laughed in embarrassment, but Daniel knelt anyway, playing along. Then he surprised everyone, including himself. From his pocket, he pulled out a real ring. His voice trembled. "Maria, my first date with you was the worst planned night of my life, and the best day of my existence. Will you marry me?" She covered her mouth, unable to speak, and nodded as tears streamed down. The twins screamed with joy and hugged them both at once. Sometimes love doesn't begin with perfection. Sometimes it begins with fear, responsibility, and a decision to stay when it would be easier to walk away. Daniel once waited alone at a table for someone who never arrived. But fate sent him something far greater. Not just a partner, but a family. And if this ending warmed your heart, remember, the right people may not come into your life peacefully. They may run toward you crying, needing you, changing you. So subscribe to the channel and stay with us. Because the next story might remind you why hope should never be abandoned.